Hello, I'm Ian.
Hello, I'm Sam.
And we welcome you to the latest episode of Such a Ranker. The show is simple. We take 7 completely random movies and try to rank them from worst to best. I got it right at that time, Sam.
I'm proud.
What could possibly go wrong? Right, this episode, our 7 films, in no particular order, are... Waiting on bated breath.
Would you like me to start?
In no particular order is 1999's The Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense.
Yes. The IMDb description for this is after being shot by a resentful former patient whom he failed to help, a Philadelphia child psychologist seeks redemption by treating a young boy with a disturbing secret.
It is quite disturbing. It's so disturbing that the whole world knows it.
It really does, yeah. But, yeah, 99... Do we have lots to talk about The Sixth Sense? You know, there's a few films on this list when I'm looking through it now where I'm like, there's a lot to talk about with some of these films. There's absolutely nothing to talk about in a couple of others as well. I think Sixth Sense kind of fits in the middle of that.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we?
We will.
The next film we have on our list is American Pie 2.
Yes.
The sequel to American Pie.
Yep.
Very original.
What was it? American Pie 99, and then this was 2001. Yep.
I believe.
Yep. J.B. Rogers literally only directed this.
Really?
It's kind of had nothing else. There's a couple of bits and bobs, but nothing I recognise. So, interesting.
Yes. I'm looking forward to talking about the age of some of these films.
Yes.
Particularly American Pie 2.
Yeah, and if they've aged well, shall we say. And then that's followed by...
Someone who is aging well.
Aging very well.
Yes.
Still has a career from himself. Clint Eastwood's 2003, I'm going to say, not a masterpiece, but it's very high up there.
Mystic
Mystic
Pizza.
River. What? What did you just say?
Mystic Pizza.
Oh, Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
His Mystic Pizza, the Mystic...
We're talking
I don't even remember the name of the film
We're talking about Mystic Pizza, aren't we?
I've said Mystic Pizza so much, I don't even know the name of the film. Mystic River. Mystic River. That's it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go on then.
47 Ronin. The worst film ever made.
It's the 4th film we're going to be talking about at some point today.
Yes. Yeah. And
2013, this one.
yes, it is we'll talk about it more in a bit, but it's the end of Keanu Reeves' run of just like appalling choices and appalling films.
Yep.
Before his rebirth as John Wick.
Yes. Is it? When was John Wick? 2014?
2014.
Yeah.
I remember watching 47 Ronin and thinking, he's done. There's no way he's coming back from this because he's nearly 50.
Yep.
He's living off the Matrix fame that came out nearly 15 years ago. And then he does what he does best and just...
He just waits a little while and then makes just a really dramatic comeback. After 47 Ronin, we've got Kill Bill Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Which I think will be an interesting conversation because I think it's the better of the Kill Bill films.
Tarantino will be very annoyed with you because he only really considers it Kill Bill as one film.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're talking about this means that we're not going to get a guest appearance in the upcoming Once Upon a Time in Hollywood TV show, created by David Fincher and written by Tarantino, which no one seems to be talking about. Yeah. That's the greatest thing ever. But no, Kill Bill Volume 2 would be an interesting chat.
Yes, definitely.
And then we've got World War Z. A very, very interesting film and based by Morton's Grown, a disappointing adaptation of a very, very famous book, I believe.
Yeah. I could probably be speaking out of line here. Did you ever get the feeling with World War Z that you were watching one of those rare things about it's a zombie movie that actually doesn't have a point? Whereas every other zombie movie is like a reflection of society in some capacity. World War Z just wasn't that. It was just, sod it. Let's put an action sequence in this and have a lot of people with zombies running over each other.
Well, the last film on our list is Saw 3. Do you think these films would have been better if it was just done by like Saw the Third?
Saw the Third?
Saw the Fourth. Bit like
No.
Shrek. No?
I think they did well with the Roman numerals because it successfully confused everyone. By the time
Roman
they
numerals
got
confuse everybody.
Well, they just got to the point where they were like, "What's 7? Nah, we'll just do 3D." No one knows what 7 is in Roman numerals.
God, did Saw 3 really come out in 2006?
Yeah.
God, that is crazy.
And we've just seen Saw X 10,
Yeah.
which was Tobin Bell back
Bell,
again.
the great man's comeback. He wanted to play a game with the producers.
He really did.
He did.
He really did.
Speaking of playing games, would you say that the game in The Sixth Sense involving Haley Joel Osment not deciding to tell anyone that he was hanging around with, dead people for half the film? Do you reckon
It's
he's-
probably the reason why we didn't see Haley Joel Osment for about 15 years.
What do you reckon he was
He was just
traumatized?
hanging out with dead people.
Yeah.
He had a job to do at that point. He had to go and fix dead people.
Do you remember this film coming out and being like a cultural phenomenon? Because I remember the very first time I watched this with my dad, the early 2000s, so a couple of years after it came out, and it's one of those films where I'm watching it, and every 20 minutes, my dad would pause the film and be like, "Do you know what's going on yet?" And I'm just like, "No."
Well, that's harsh.
I'm like,
That's like...
I'm like, "No." Can I watch the film? And I think it took me until basically the moment where it was incredibly obvious to be like, Bruce Willis is dead, isn't he? And my dad looked at me with that disappointed face. But yeah,
you were at the end credits and he just revealed that he was dead. And he was like the whole way through, he's tempting you. He's like, yeah, give me this.
I think it was when he says that I see dead people, and you're like, that's the moment it sort of like starts to click all of Bruce Willis's previous scenes, and you're like, oh, of course, yeah. But I don't remember this being like a big, because it's probably the most famous twist related film. Do I say ever?
It's famously Shyamalan's twist.
Yeah.
Like it basically
It's his signature.
birthed that. Yeah. It's a really strange film to go back and watch now because I think on one hand, I'm like, well, it's 99 this came out. So there were twists in movies before this.
Of course, 7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't really know why it had such... well, what's the best way to... What am I trying to say?
Because the film is so... The twist is like weaponized throughout the film because of Bruce Willis's character.
And it's interesting what he does. Like in terms of... When you look back at Shyamalan stuff, this is like... I would say is the most orchestrated twist in any of his movies. He got to a point where in the end he'd just have a twist for twist's sake. And this feels like it was a whole movie that was like, right, well, this is the twist, let's work our way backwards and then tell a story from that. But I must admit, and I'm not sure if this is a hot take or not, the twist that he is dead, that Bruce Willis's character is dead, is one of the most crowbarred in parts of a film that I think I've ever seen. It's so arbitrary to the plot. Even though I've just said it's that device worked backwards. When they worked back and then started writing the movie, it was clearly a very different movie that they were writing because by the time we get to the end, it doesn't matter that Bruce Willis is dead. It really doesn't matter. So by the time you're in that final moment where it's like, oh, Bruce Willis is dead and all of that lot, and that's why he can't speak to his wife, it's like, so? We've ended it. Haley Joel Osment is now a superhero who can pass people through purgatory into the afterlife. It doesn't matter about Bruce Willis anymore. The story's not about him. So it becomes like an odd crowbarred in part of the film that was probably the original intention but ends up not being within the grand scheme of the movie. So I watched this quite late. I didn't watch this around 99. I probably picked it up in the 2010s.
Oh, okay.
And I think that probably fuels a lot of my view of this because if I'd have watched it back in 99, there'd be much more impact on it because again, it came out in a time where things like Seven and that was all kicking off and the whole psychological thriller thing was all like a big thing. And it was very interesting to make a film at that time around psychology. So I could kind of see why it would have like this huge impact. Like, oh, he was dead all along. Like, I can see why, but watching it later with much more film knowledge, I say film knowledge, whatever it is that we've garnered over the years of watching film, it felt to me like a hugely tacked on part of the movie that then makes me go, oh, this isn't as well thought out than I originally thought it was. It is then just that Shyamalan twist that he's famous for, like not really carrying a lot of weight.
I think it's the uniqueness of the twist being almost the pivotal thing you take away from the film in a way.
Yeah, it's like the whole, there's that saying, isn't there? Like, as long as your final scene is the most memorable part of it, it doesn't matter what the 90 minutes beforehand was.
Yeah,
and I slightly feel like that's the Sixth Sense.
Well, I think the thing with the Sixth Sense is that if you ask people what is this film about, they will say, "Oh, it's the twist of the Bruce Willis." Like, a lot of people, I feel like, wouldn't actually know what the story is, when the story is actually quite interesting.
That's really
it is
interesting.
about this child who is essentially cursed with the ability to see dead people because these dead people are not yet ready to leave for whatever reason. That's a very interesting premise, and it's been completely overtaken by the twist, which is almost like become, as you say, the overbearing thing of all his films.
Yeah.
That like really like put the
You're
film
just
down.
waiting for a twist. It doesn't matter what that twist is.
Signs is the big version of that.
Old did the same thing.
Old, oh my
The
God,
Visit
Old.
did the same thing.
Old
Like,
is one of the worst
Trap.
things I've ever seen.
His most recent film,
Because
Trap.
that's the other thing. His film. We've had this chat many times. Films, as long as they're fairly well put together, most people will almost like say it's fine, and the story can sometimes be like secondary to film's fine. So many of his films, just like the acting and the filmmaking is abysmal. So like, to such a degree that I find it almost insulting. Like, I can't believe that Old is like a thing.
Yeah.
The acting in that film, I mean, The Happening is almost like a cult joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a comedy. It's so bad, but Old was just like terrible. Like, just from like my eyes, just like watching everything unfold.
But The Sixth Sense, so it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of my notes that I wrote down for The Sixth Sense is, for as much as it's doing a good job at being a movie, particularly in '99, there were little things that it did where I was like, why is that there? There's a bit where Bruce Willis has watched like his wife in an interaction with essentially a new boyfriend. But at the time, he doesn't know that it's a new boyfriend, and he's walking away. And I swear to God, he offers the line, "Yeah, walk away, dick cheese." And I was like,
It's probably just Bruce
what?
Willis.
And you know when you're like, that was chosen dialogue. It's so out of place in this movie. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you probably call him, you go, F off, or, you'd say something that...
No pun intended, but the signs were there from The Sixth Sense, where M. Night's career was like heading.
Yeah,
I think Unbreakable is his best film, personally. That film is almost like the most well put together, where the twist isn't like the film, like the Unbreakable is about a man who's actually a superhero, but he doesn't realise it is. That's interesting, and the twist at the end, where the twist is very good. I think, like, it's basically, you're a superhero, and my place in the world is Samuel Jackson's character is to be your villain. That's my destiny, and I find that very interesting. But yeah, The Sixth Sense, outside of the twist, it kind of falls flat. Which goes to my intriguing thing with this, is that in terms of such a ranking, if we're talking about the first time viewing, this would probably be quite high. But once you've watched it, and you think about it a lot, and then you watch it again, it always has that diminishing returns feel. So it's very interesting how we're going to place this.
Yeah. Well, it's the first one we've spoken about.
There you go.
I mean, it's a paradox at the moment. It's both the best and worst movie we've seen. American Pie 2?
American Pie 2.
American Pie 2.
Now, I can't say that this is better than Sixth Sense, but it is a lot more fun.
It's a hell of a lot more
and a
fun.
lot more controversial.
So, American Pie 2. I'm putting...
Huge film in its day.
Huge film. Massive. Coming off the back of 99's American Pie 1. Story is pretty much, you've got the original members of the cast coming back. They're all at college. They break up for the summer and they decide, right, we're just going to have a party summer. We need to get away from this because we can't stay at home. Everyone's shutting down their parties. The police know about what's going on locally. So they're like, right, we're going to head to the lake and we're going to get a cabin and we're going to just go party all for the summer. That's pretty much the story from start to finish. Whereas the first one was, we need to get laid. Like, all four of them need to get laid before prom, which is problematic in itself. This is more, we're just going to have a fun time. So the idea is we're leading up to this huge party, and it's what escapades can we put the group into over the course of 98 minutes or however long it is.
With Jim trying to basically become confident when his old flame Nadia shows up.
Eventually, yeah. But otherwise, up until that point, you don't really know Nadia is really going to be a thing in it until he heads back home again. So it's kind of
Is
like
that what
the
happens?
sub story.
Because
That's his story arc where he's like, "Oh, Nadia's coming at the end of summer. I need to prepare for this," and then that's where then he goes back to
it's Jim and lady from Bandcamp.
yes,
Like that's like the anchor of the film.
yeah. That's like I suppose if you're gonna because if Jim is your main character, which he kind of is, then that's his main story. But if you're going to split it in between all the individual characters, then you've got Finch is basically looking for Stifler's mum. You've got Oz's character who's in a long-term relationship with
Tantric? What the fuck is Tantric?
you got Oz who's in a long-term relationship with whoever.
I won't lie. Their phone sex scene when Stifler gets involved always makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Just Stifler's impression.
Oh, Stifler.
Heather.
Yeah. Oh, Stifler. Is your cock as big as Stifler's? And she's like, Heather's just on the end of the phone, just like, "Hello, Stephen." Yeah. No, the thing is, I must admit, so we've spoken about this before. That American Pie 1, very problematic now when you look back at it. But in a weird way, I think its heart's in the right place with a few of the storylines. So you've got like the really problematic stuff now, which is really hard to kind of, in retrospect, look back on and kind of go, "Oh, that's a good idea." But then there's like little bits of touches that kind of feels like it was a bit more ahead of its time. So you've got like Oz's relationship in the first one with Heather. You've got Jessica, who's Tara Reid's like best mate in it, who's very kind of forward thinking, like kind of knows what she wants from like relationships, from sex and all of that lot, but provides like a really grounded kind of take on everything. It's not just the boys are getting laid and then girls are just part of that process. They are of like a periphery storyline. So there's elements of that going on. American Pie 2 is continuing these guys' story. There's still elements of it where you're just like, wow, this is kind of... It's still a bit problematic because their still ultimate aim is, can we get laid at the end of this? And I want to be ready for it. But what I would say about it is it likes its characters enough that it wants to be a bit more respectful than the first one. If that makes sense. I think it genuinely is. So we've spoken about nasty films in the past, right? When you look at, say, some of Danny Boyle stuff, when you look at like a lot of like British movies in the 90s, when you look at a lot of 90s movies in most psychological horror and stuff like that, it's nasty filmmaking. It's designed to be, these are characters that you hate and you just want to see bad things happen to them. American Pie 2 feels like the opposite to that, where it's just kind of like, we've got these four guys who are just out of college and we're just going to have a goofy teen fantasy that is just, you know, we're going to get loads of 15-year-old boys. They're going to look up to this and just say, right, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we could just have like a party in the like all summer and just get drunk and just, you know, have fun. And I think it succeeds in doing that. There's still some problematic stuff.
Yeah.
The whole scene, like the house painting scene, where it's like they're all basically just chasing what they perceive to be lesbians around a house.
Yeah, and they're basically like egging the other group on to like get a bit more serious with their acts.
And it's a bit like, I'm not really sure where this is going to go.
I mean, there
it doesn't
are
really
loads.
fly
I mean,
now.
no one ever actually talks about how problematic it is that what's his face, like Stifler's mum and what's his name?
Oh no, that's and Finch.
And Finch.
No, yeah,
no one ever talks about how incredibly problematic that is from the off.
Oh no, they do now.
Oh, they do
in
now?
retrospect, oh yeah, that's one of the big like.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's a problem.
This film does have a twist. He does think that she's
he
going
got
to
a
show
Shyamalan
up, and it
twist?
turns out to be the brother.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, Shyamalan must have probably thought, well, it would be a really good twist if can she be dead this whole time?
No, the twist is that Jim ends up with Bandcamp.
It's not that kind of film, M. Night. Oh, okay, well the brother can just show up there. This is boring. I'm going back to write signs in a cornfield.
I do think though the core principle at the heart of it, I think, is that the relationship between Jim and Jim's dad.
Oh,
I think that's funny.
It's the key to
that scene where he gets his hand stuck to his groin and the porno stuck to his other hand.
Yeah,
I think he's just hilarious.
Yeah,
and it's just the way that Jim's dad then just kind of tries to rationalise everything that's going on and tries to make it all okay for his son.
Yeah,
and it just ends up with just
is he
hilarious
one of
conversations
the most
with other people.
lovable parents in like films?
Yeah, I think so. Because
he doesn't have a lot of screen time,
Yeah.
but when he does, he's like that perfect. No matter how humiliating Because that's the thing, like, in most films, the dad would be, like, mortified by the fact that his son is just a continuous, like, disappointment.
Yeah.
But he's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
He, like, loves him unconditionally.
Yeah. And he's
And
just
Jim-
like, look, you're gonna mess up, but you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine. And I think that for me has always been the driving point of the movie. As much as there's a lot of problematic stuff in there, that was just kind of aggrandizing, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
It's basically just taking attitudes of that era and spinning it into what is a teen frat comedy that we can basically just create like a fantasy out of. And now with those glasses on, you can see what's problematic in it. And I think it's good and it's healthy to look back at cinema and say, oh yeah, that's problematic. But I also think sometimes when you've got like the relationship between Jim and Jim's dad, and then you've got some of the like peripheral stories, for instance, that is attempting to be more balanced, I suppose,
Yeah.
or more heartfelt.
These films all have an element of fun.
Yeah, I think if it was like pure teen comedy,
Yeah.
where I would watch the whole thing and be like, oh, this whole thing is massively problematic now,
Yeah.
then I have more of a problem with them.
It has
Because I must admit, I do that. I am one of those film watchers now that will look back at something and go, yeah, I don't think I enjoyed that as much anymore because X, Y, and Z, because you can see an error. But when I rewatched American Pie 2 for this, I was like, it just took me back. There was a real nostalgic hit to it. And I think that's why, not so much 3, because I don't like 3, but Reunion hit hard. Because I kind of feel like I grew up with this group.
Yeah.
And so Reunion
Do you
was
feel
kind
like
of a nice
its heart is
throwback.
in the right place, even if that place is somewhat misled at times?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I probably wouldn't put it as high as Sixth Sense, but I mean, you can get more parallel films if you tried.
I
Or-
can
or separate
rewatch
films.
American Pie 2. And I will still laugh. I will still laugh. at
American Pie
2.
1 and 2 is like it's a good fun evening, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
It's not a film that I would watch.
I wouldn't recommend to people.
No.
But I think I would like. It's just kind of a bit of nostalgia, just to go back and have a bit of a laugh. Then it's okay on that front.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we're now going to go on to Mystic River, which I think again is as far away in terms of the can we call it the innocence of American Pie 2? Is that an appropriate word?
The fun-loving,
The
nature
fun-loving
of
Mystic River.
you cannot get more of an opposite storyline
Yes.
if you tried.
This film is for mature audiences only, and it's very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few films where I actually feel for Sean Penn, who might be one of the most loathsome actors that I can think of.
It's one of the very few movies that I feel has a. Yeah, I tell you what. Actually, before we get into it, Mystic River. So essentially, it's the story evolves around essentially three guys who were school friends, had stuff happen to them when they were in school.
Well, one specific person.
One specific one has stuff happen to them when they were younger. They then break off, but it's the murder of a 19-year-old that happens to be, I think, is it the
daughter
niece
of
or the
Sean
daughter of one of those kids, makes those three men come back together again and relive all of the events of their youth. It's quite complicated. It's quite convoluted in that sense. I would tack this down more as a mystery
Yeah.
than I would like a thriller or anything like that. It's one of those really rare moments in a movie that you feel really bad about, but you legitimately feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you feel not disappointed, that's not the word, but you feel sad. You feel sad.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it has such a that's such a powerful moment, or the events after that is so powerful as they reveal more and more of the mystery. That it just stays with you. This film just kind of lives rent-free in the brain, you know? And I think some people would go as far as to say this is Clint Eastwood's best movie. And I tell you what, I bet it's probably up there.
It's definitely in his top 5 directing films.
Yeah.
If you include acting, I think he's got a bit more going. But it's a really well put together film. And I mean, all the people involved, which is essentially Sean Penn, Kevin Bacon, and Tim Robbins, are really good. Yeah. They do really bring like an authenticity to it where you genuinely feel like they all grew up with each other.
Yeah.
And even though two of them in particular are in the complete opposite sides of like a career, I suppose. Their relationship is really interesting, I think. But yeah, it was a massive film at the time. It was kind of during Clint Eastwood's mid-2000s, like, I don't know what the word is, like magic, I suppose. Because he did this, then $1 Million Baby. $1 Million Baby is like his second big like Oscar film after Unforgiven.
Yeah.
So it was really good form from him. Sean Penn was like huge. It was a really good time for everyone involved. I can't really think that it's well known with a lot of people, particularly younger people.
Again, I mean, it suffers from the mid-2000s effect, right?
Yeah.
I think we spoke about this in perhaps one of our other podcasts, but the mid-2000s has a lot of really good movies, but for some reason it gets a little bit marred in the stuff that wasn't good enough. And Mystic River is one of those ones that just absolutely belts. It's so good. Oscar-driven film. You know what? It actually won supporting actor for Tim Robbins and Sean Penn. So there's a lot of street cred for this movie, but it never ever gets the conversation that it deserves, I think. Because it's a mystery. I always find mysteries, they're just a genre of movie that must be so hard to put together. Not just from a writing standpoint, but from a direction standpoint, from an editing point of view. Because you can't ever give enough away. Like, you just can't, because it's just going to reveal too much of the plot. And that's why I say that I think it's really well put together, because that moment in the movie that all of a sudden it just changes everything. It changes the dichotomy of all of their relationships. It changes everything. But then to have an even bigger Shyamalan twist later on, based on that one moment, is pretty well put together.
Is it your favourite Eastwood film of the 2000s?
I'd probably say Gran Torino is probably the better movie.
Do you think? Because I watched.
No, actually, no. You're right. I'm wrong. I would say Mystic River and then Gran Torino, and then everything else just kind of falls out.
What about $1 Million Baby?
I've never really rated it that.
I love that
well.
film. I mean, again, that does suffer from like once you've watched it the first time, it's like diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I think Mystic River is the most well put together out of his sort of 2000s films.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can I just say it's absolutely astonishing that this film came out in 2003 by a very old man, and the same man 22 years later is still like looking forward, making films. It's not even just a case of reflecting on 60 years of making stuff. He's just still like, Clint Eastwood put out an article the other day through like Variety, and he said a lot of people lose their touch as they get older, but I'm not one of them. He's 95.
As you do.
It's crazy.
I wish I was that confident about my skills.
Oh my God, I don't know how many more films he's got under his belt, but I hope he makes films for at least 10 more years.
You'd like to hope so.
That would be amazing.
If he made a film at 100.
It's just astonishing. Like, I remember watching like Dirty Harry with my dad in like the early 2000s. I mean, that film then was like 30 years old, and the guy who made it was again in his like 70s. And it's like nearly 25 years later.
Yeah. And he's still making them.
He's still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That is, nuts. Anyway, but yeah, Mystic River, great film.
Yeah. We're getting to that point now. We're 3 films in. Let's not. I think it's fairly obvious where this is going to go on the list so far.
I don't know.
But yeah. Next on the list is 47 Ronin, 2013.
So you say Ronin, and I say Ronin.
Is it Ronin?
I don't know.
Ronin.
Is it tomato?
I always pronounce things wrong. I've never been able to say Matthew McConaughey's name right. I've always called him McConaughey or McConaughey, but it's not. It's McConaughey.
It's McConaughey.
McConaughey, yeah. But for some reason, my brain just doesn't seem to ever want me to pronounce it.
Oh, it's fine. That happens. I'm still haunted by thinking Torquay was pronounced Torquay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
That's lovely and embarrassing, that one.
Just every time I think of Torquay, I'm like, oh.
Did you go there and go, oh, I love Torquay?
No, I went to Devon when I was very small. And this is going to age me horribly. This was the days of road maps in cars that was always in the little pocket on the back seat.
Yep.
And
A to Z.
And I had to read it. And then I said, "Oh, we're near Torquay."
Uh-oh.
And I got laughed at by my family. And I still remember it.
And then you closed the map and never went there again.
And I closed it. I gave it to my brother, and that was it. I was never in charge of a map again. I wish the way I treated that map, I could treat 47 Ronin.
Honestly, I wasn't an apologist for this movie, and then I tried rewatching it.
It's just a really bad film.
It's not a great film.
Just so uninspiring. You don't care about anybody. It's boring. That's the worst thing. A film like this should never be boring.
No, it should always have a lot going on. It should be interesting.
Just so just inspired crap. But I suppose it's an interesting film because it is the film, as I think we mentioned earlier on, it's like the end point of Keanu Reeves' embarrassing run.
So this
and then all of a sudden he finds John Wick, and then he's got like 10 more years under his belt.
So I mean, this came off the back of.
Can I make a comparison? It's a bit like Michael Keaton because he just did so much crap, and I always think of the RoboCop reboot, which he's in.
Yeah.
And that was like the end before Birdman, which weirdly enough is about the same time as these films.
Yeah.
And then you're just thinking, oh, he's just all these bit part crap films he's in, but then he finds Birdman, and then his career's back in.
Yeah, so in 2006 he did A Scanner Darkly, and then he did The Lake House as well in 2006. Now, I don't mind The Lake House. For as much of it's got a lot of flaws, I don't mind it. But then he did Street Kings, and I hated Street Kings. That is not a good film.
He did The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The Day the Earth Stood Still after that. Then he did The Private Lives of Pippa Lee. And then Henry's Crime and Generation which currently has an audience score on IMDb of 3.9. Then he did Man of Tai Chi, then 47 Ronin, and then in 2014 he did John Wick.
Yes. I would say the only film of any worth from debatably Matrix 2 to John Wick is Constantine.
Scanner Darkly's good.
I don't believe you.
Have you seen A Scanner Darkly?
No. I just think, it's just so forgettable. I don't even know whether we can. The events around the film are more interesting than the film, and I think that's all I can say about it.
I don't think we need to really talk much more about 47 Ronin. I think it's just not a great movie. It's just not worth your time.
No, so boring. I just remember seeing it at the cinema. I think with you potentially, and just thinking this is so dull. I hate this.
That's what I mean. I think I came out of it as a bit more of an apologist, but I must admit, I tried to rewatch it for this, and I was like.
God bless Keanu Reeves. Excuse me. God bless Keanu Reeves.
God, he gives it a go, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does give it a go. But speaking of samurai swords, might be the best segue I think I've ever made so far. Kill Bill Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Which, as you rightfully put off air, probably Tarantino would not like us calling it Kill Bill Volume 2. Or was it off air, or
I think
was
I said
it in the same
podcast.
breath? I think you might have done it. Yeah, that was after such a good segue as well. How can I mess up that badly?
It's just the reality of life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. We've got to move on. Anyway, Kill Bill Volume 2.
Sometimes you just lose.
Oh,
that's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, don't beat yourself up like Bill.
Nice, like it.
Anyway, Kill Bill Volume 2. I think it's a very doesn't quite have the momentum of the first film, but I suppose in some ways that's the point.
I prefer it to the second.
I think the final act is great, and it's got I'll point them out. They're both very good.
Yeah,
but I'm just talking about it doesn't quite have the same pull as the first film. But Uma Thurman's great in it. All the characters are really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, how long are both volumes? Could he have released them as one thing? I've always thought about this.
Didn't they? He said something like he originally always intended to release it as one film, but the runtime would have been 4 hours.
Yeah.
So actually, now he probably could release it.
You could do it now, yeah.
But obviously the studios didn't like that, so he had to cut it to volume 1 and 2.
Do you think this would have been a better show?
Oh, good question. Yes and no. Yes, in as much as I think there's an element of episodic isn't the right way to describe it, but it's a series of confrontations.
Yes.
That have very clear start and end points. So we're like, I'm going here and I'm going to see. It's like told in chapters almost. That you could see working very well as a TV show or a mini series, should we say, more than anything else. But I quite like the film structure to it because I do think the first part ends at a good place, and then the second part picks up like with flashbacks, essentially,
Yeah.
how she got the skills and what she was doing. So I think structurally, I think it does lend itself fine to a part 1, part 2. But again, it's looking back. We didn't have miniseries as prevalent as we did back then. There's always been rumours, for instance, that Tarantino always wanted to go back and make Hateful Eight a TV show. And there was always rumours that he'd edited it into a TV show for Netflix.
In America, that's the case, I think.
Yeah. Did he actually do it in the end?
I think he did. It's a 3-part show.
Yeah. Because that famously has an intermission.
Well, that's what the Hateful Eight is a play, really.
Yeah.
Like, structurally, so that does kind of work as a TV format where you can take little breaks.
But much like we were saying, though, Kill Bill still works in almost like a chapter. But I mean, Tarantino works very much.
Yeah, he's always been a chapter
structures. He likes the good 3-act structure. He likes like non-linear storytelling. He likes all that stuff. So that kind of lends itself to a lot of formats, should we say?
Yeah.
Whether it would be any better or not sure. Because if you look at how succinct a part 1, part 2 is, it's a rare duology in which a story is finished in 2.
That's a very good point. I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah.
I suppose, would this be like would Tarantino be persuaded to make this a trilogy?
I think he's always said that he had ideas for Kill Bill 3.
Yeah. It would be awkward if,
but I mean, it ends really well. It ends really well. It
Yeah.
ends exactly in the way that you want it to. It's the plight of the bride, essentially.
Yeah.
And I like the flashbacks. I like her learning the skills. I love the bit with Daryl Hannah, with like there's a serious comeuppance. Like that's like the villain. Daryl Hannah is like, like the villain of villains.
Yeah.
And so to see her comeuppance in such a brilliant kung fu way, just is satisfying.
Yeah.
The stuff with Bill at the end, I think, is really interesting. And I think it has one of those really interesting moments in it where it's like, oh, actually, the payoff is signposted. It's that whole thing with Bill teaching her the five position heart attack punch or whatever it is. That's your payoff. That's kind of like the way you round it off. But yeah, no, Kill Bill Volume 2. I think it's a good.
Yeah.
To be personally, I think it's the best sequel. So I think we'll probably have a bit of a.
But it isn't a
A
sequel.
bit of a time break.
But it isn't a sequel.
Sorry, better than the first film.
Yeah, but it's not a sequel. It's a film. It's a whole film.
It's a whole film. Nothing but a film.
Tarantino will eventually listen to this.
Oh, Kill Bill. I
as
see what you mean.
As he goes through Spotify, he'll see like, oh, who are these people?
These guys that have a combined 22 listens.
Well, 2 of them are double figures.
They're not.
They are.
They're not. I looked back at the stats. They're not.
Oh, that's so
It's
disappointing.
like, one of them is like 8.
Speaking of disappointments, World War Z.
Yes.
Brad Pitt in a very, very left field film for him to
Yep.
be in like a zombie film. He had my main memory of this film is his glorious hair.
Yeah.
He had
Fantastic
luscious
hair for his
long
age.
hair.
Yeah.
And I always remember that you saw the scene everywhere of like basically the apocalypse happening, and he's in his car with his family.
Yeah.
And then it all like unfolds.
I genuinely think the tech and the visuals of the time made some of like the chase sequences and like the actual zombie moments in it, they are still really interesting. Like they moved so far away. It was almost like, can we do the extreme version of Ramiro stuff? We're just going to get just loads of zombies to just run, and they will just literally fight each other just to get at humans. You know, they made a real threat out of the zombies that I wouldn't say you hadn't seen before, because 28 weeks later had kind of done the run in zombie. Well, zombie, not zombie. You know, so they'd reinvented it that way. But World War Z has always felt very meh to me. It's always been... Mark Foster, I think, directed it. Did Quantum of Solace. He also, weirdly, has done like a lot of family stuff. So you've got things like Finding Neverland and Christopher Robin, which I just really haven't been able to work out why then he would then get picked for something like World War Z, you know? Because World War Z is just this weird zombie movie that just doesn't really have a point or direction, but just exists, you know?
This film kind of is the zombie version of 47 Ronin. where I watched it and I was very bored. And all like there's one sort of scene where it's tense, where Brad Pitt's in a room.
It's the end.
And he's
I was
got, like,
just literally about to ask you, what do you think about the end?
oh, that's like the only half decent bit of the whole film.
Yeah.
I can't remember everything else. I don't
It's
even
kind
know.
of the Last of Us situation.
Brad Pitt's got like this weird, like he's like unbeatable and he's like calm all the time. It's almost like when I watch the film, he's completely prepared for everything that happens. And I hate stuff like that, where it just feels lazy and like, oh yeah, I can completely be fine with this situation that would horrify. That's the other thing with 28 Days Later. Like, Cillian Murphy is absolutely, like, horrified until the very end of the film about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Because he obviously is the least prepared out of everybody because he missed a lot of it.
Well, Weeks, we just mentioned about Weeks as well. Robert Carlyle, in the first scene of that, is one of the most harrowing scenes.
Yeah.
The rest of the film is pretty meh, but, like, the beginning of 28 Weeks Later is intense as hell.
Yeah, this film, it just sort of breaks all the rules of, like, you don't feel sympathy when just, like, people just seem ridiculously chill.
I just found it always a bit weird how you can have a globe-trotting zombie movie. You know, like, it's not James Bond. Yeah, he literally goes all around the world as a former UN ambassador, which just feels a bit, let's put our finger in the air and come up with a job for this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's an interesting one because I can't think of many films after the end of Seven, and a lot of Seven to be fair, where he actually shows a huge element of fear.
I wonder if it's written into his contract. It's
Where-
like Brad Pitt cannot look scared.
He always feels insanely in control of it. Like, Moneyball is a great film because his character is all about trying to maintain a level of control because he has a lot of insecurities about failing as a baseball player. So it's almost like a front.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think in most films, he just never seems to be in a state of, oh, I might not be able to do well here. Even characters I love, like Cliff Booth in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they just always seem to be completely in control of every element at every moment.
I liked him in Ad Astra. Ad Astra, I thought, had an interesting...
Somber.
Yeah, and I think he showed a bit more acting in that.
I mean, I love Brad Pitt. I'm
a big fan, yeah.
It's just an interesting thing. I think even
Yeah,
in
true.
Snatch, when he's very angry that his mum's caravan has been burnt down, but he's more like now adamant that he's going to kill everybody.
Fury?
No, I don't think Fury's I think he's even in death. He's like, I'm fine.
Yeah, true. Tree of Life?
I've not seen Tree of Life.
That's 2011, so it was before World War Z.
Yeah, but like Seven's the exception, where Seven, like, obviously he's like traumatized throughout that film, and then the ending he's like basically like broken and completely given in to wrath, which is obviously his sin.
Assassination of Jesse James by the Cowboy before.
Again, he's very like
He's the cool character,
yeah,
right?
He's just always the guy who's fine.
But that's kind of his jam, right? That's like his.
But speaking of like Clint Eastwood in like $1 Million Baby, Brad Pitt would never do something like that, where he's like weeping at the end because he feels responsible for what happened to this woman. I just don't think you'll get that with Brad Pitt.
I think you will later in life.
I've got F1, so F1 might be.
Yeah.
He's got he has a romantic interest in that film, which is another thing. Does he ever have like romantic interests?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
No, like in the last like 10, 15 years at
Probably
least.
not. He's always just been that cool character that kind of sits on the side, isn't he? Really?
Yeah. Again, I feel like Cliff Booth is the personification of a Brad Pitt character.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And you don't see much different outside of that.
Yeah. But World War Z.
Yeah.
A disappoint because I've heard the book is very good.
Okay.
So it's a very disappointing adaptation, I suppose. Although I've never read the book, but based on the legacy of the film, which is very small.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it did very well.
But speaking of legacy horror movies about zombies, but not about zombies, shall I start that one again? Oh, I did so well with one of my transitions. This is just...
Do you reckon Brad Pitt would have worked better in World War Z if every time he walked into a scene, he just said, I want to play a game? Do you reckon that would have worked better for him?
then that's what we're going to use, because neither of us can clearly come up with a good.
I thought that was quite good.
Well, no, not really.
Do you reckon Tobin Bell would have been better in
Tobin
Brad
Bell
Pitt
would have
role?
been better in it. Yes, that's it. Saw 3.
Saw 3.
Right, so I have a lot of things to say about this. So how can I distill this down into like some succinct
You
sentences?
have great affection for the Saw films. Well,
No,
few.
I have great affection for the idea of the Saw movies. I think not necessarily about the actual films themselves. Saw 3. So this is kind of the end of the trilogy. So this is still written by Leigh Whannell and or Lee Whannell and James Wan. This is the end of kind of their writing of the franchise. Both of them, beginning at the inception, they created Saw. They created Jigsaw. I
think it was their huge
hit.
project.
The first one was massive. It was a short before it was a main one. The short actually was Amanda's reverse bear trap. That was the short film. So they did that one first, and then they go Saw 1 then comes off of this. Saw 2. Saw 1 is its own thing. It was insane at the time. No one thought that Carey Ewells would turn up in a horror movie, let alone opposite this complete unknown bloke who just so happened to also write it. Tobin Bell, famous voice essentially, as the villain Jigsaw. Huge cultural phenomenon. Like, Saw was massive. It had gore in it, but it told a really interesting film. It was a twist. There was so much to it. There was even an element, there was a degree, and one of the reasons, this is why I really like the idea of it, there's a degree of sympathy for your serial killer. That this is a guy who then, he overcomes odds, has a new perception on life. And then essentially the first film is essentially punishing those that don't realise how much of a gift life is. So there's a real element of just kind of like, you can then put people in scenarios that you can then empathise with because they've made a mistake or they've done something wrong or something like that you kind of go, oh, okay, this adds kind of odd stakes to this now because I'm not just watching someone who deserves it. I'm watching someone who, as I say, has just made a mistake. So you kind of create a really interesting kind of thought process in this, in that, like, the traps themselves are always designed that you can get out of them. So you come out of the cinema and you have discussions around, oh, could you do that? Or could you actually put yourself in that scenario? You put yourself there, and there's just a really interesting psychological connection that you can make with the Saw movies. So you have the first film. Second one then comes out because the first one's such a crazy success. So they go, right, how can we build upon this universe? So they start the Amanda storyline. So it's the girl from the first film that has the reverse bear trap. She gets out of it. The second film plays through. Then you've essentially got Amanda then is revealed to be Jigsaw's apprentice. The third film is essentially the culmination of those first two movies, where it's like, right, how can we tie together link everything that's happened in the first two while still telling Amanda's apprentice storyline and wrap it up? Because we've also got Jigsaw, who, upon going through all this stuff with cancer, is now on his deathbed. So the third film opens with a scene that is alluding to Jigsaw being back. He's a serial killer. He's now started up again. He's doing what he's doing. Quick cuts then to Jigsaw in essentially like a makeshift hospital. It's essentially just a warehouse in the middle of nowhere where he set up his essentially final game. He is on his deathbed now. He kidnaps a doctor to come in and starts unraveling his biggest story yet. Long story short, the third film is Amanda's second test. She survived the first one. She became a really adept student in the second one. And the third one is her losing her way. And so the story of the third one is essentially John, Jigsaw, playing another game with Amanda. That is the Shyamalan twist. If we're going for anything in this episode, it's where is the Shyamalan twist? This is it.
It's the key to everything.
The twist is, in fact, the twist is essentially that he is testing Amanda, but that's where essentially the trilogy is going. We've got a serial killer, we have an apprentice, it's then what can we do with the apprentice that's then lost their way? That's the story arc of this. Now, Saw 3 has some very interesting elements to it, and it brings in those elements of sympathy again. What would you do in this scenario? The person that he is putting through the game this time is basically broken because his son has been murdered and the justice system has not worked for him and the killer has essentially walked free. So the story is essentially he is so full of rage and so full of wrath that he cannot forgive anyone, but he has to essentially forgive them in order to save their lives. So every single kind of saw and play that he goes through is him confronting somebody who was part of that justice process or was responsible for his son's killer not having any form of retribution. So it adds the legacy of Saw and everything I liked about it, which I described at the beginning, is all in here. It all makes sense. But somewhere along the way, and I think this is probably where James Wan and Leigh Whannell kind of realised, is they've gone, right, we've got to make something really clever here. We've got to say something really clever about the human condition. And we've got to make this. But it becomes really convoluted.
Well, that defines these films after a while. It just becomes ridiculously convoluted with everything.
True, but not to the same extent that I mean, the fourth, fifth, and sixth one, I mean, they make no sense. Like, to the point where they are so convoluted. Who, in their right mind, it's the same guy who directed the fourth one. Why he cast two actors that look exactly the same to be good guy and bad guy? I remember watching it in the fourth film. I remember coming out of the cinema and I was with my mates going, did anyone know who was the good guy and the bad guy in this? Because they look exactly the same. It didn't make any sense. But it loses its way after the third one because famously, Leigh Whannell has come around and said, I pretty much haven't seen anything after the third one. Like, they kind of washed their hands of it. They were like, Lionsgate have got this now. They're going to do what they're going to do. We're responsible for the first one. We've done our trilogy and so on and so forth. And it's very obviously felt after the third one. My feelings on this are, it becomes so convoluted. I like the idea of what they do. I like the character arc. I like the idea that it's apprentice. The apprentice then got wrong, and then we're going to test the apprentice again. I like the twists of it, but it is an excuse just to get Tobin Bell to give exposition for essentially 12 minutes at the end of a movie. It's just an opportunity for him, not just then to have dialogue, not just to have expositional dialogue, but then to kill him and then play a cassette player with him with more expositional dialogue. It's just more exposition upon more exposition upon more exposition. It's so convoluted that you just kind of go, I kind of get it and I kind of think it's clever, but it's not as clever as you want it to be because it's so convoluted. And I think that's where it lets the film down. I think the Saw traps themselves are really kind of inventive, whereas like the first film you had like proper, like, oh, we're going to put you in a device and then you're going to get through this. The second one is then we're going to have a haunted house fair scenario where we're just going to throw people into like syringes and everyone's bums all clench at the same time. And they're going to have all those scenarios. And then this third one is just like, right, we're going to have a series of, but we're going to be like really violent, but we're not. So we're going to have a scenario where we're going to chuck a woman into a freezer, but we're going to keep throwing cold water at her, so she eventually just freezes. Her face cracks. And then we're going to have another scenario where we're just going to have just loads of like carcasses of animals just get ground up and just thrown on a man. And then he's going to survive this one, but he's going to get shot later.
So what's your opinion on Saw 3?
I've been talking about this film for a while.
You clearly have like a weird affection for these films.
For some reason,
I think you're intrigued by the structure.
I'm intrigued by the structure. I'm intrigued by what they were trying to do with the villain. I'm intrigued by the scenarios that they tried to create. I'm intrigued by the empathy and the psychology of the movies. It connects you with those characters and those initial, let's say, victims in a way that the other ones just don't. The last movie, for instance, like Saw 3D is one of the worst things ever made. Spiral: The Book of Saw just didn't really get it. Jigsaw was interesting,
which was
like the eighth one,
Chris Rock one.
Yeah. Jigsaw was interesting because it kind of tried to go back to that original sense of like let's do it. But for me, I think the Saw 3 just kind of rounds off an interesting trilogy. I don't think it does anything too amazing. I don't think it does anything too surprising. I think what it does is show that the writers and the original people that came up with it still had an affinity and an idea about what they would do if given the opportunity to make a trilogy. I'm pleased they walked away after this one.
Do you think Tobin Bell really just sort of like holds it all together?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the only... Him returning in Saw 10 or Saw X, and him being such a big part of Saw X, and it being the highest rated then of it, goes to show me that somewhere along the line people went, it all became about the traps.
Yeah.
We need to take this back. We need to take this back to what this actually means.
Yeah.
We need to get this back to like
a man
area.
who is dying of cancer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Walter White thing where it takes him to basically be given a death sentence to realise what life is kind of all about.
And his twisted logic is that I can make you appreciate life as much as me, then you will live a better life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the intriguing thing about him as a villain, is that like you can never justify any of his actions. You can never justify what he's doing, but that twisted, warped logic of just, you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Versus every other killer before that point is, well, you're going to die.
When are you finally going to see Tobin Bell's guest appearance in Stargate, playing the leader of the Tolan?
I'm not. I'm just more happy that he plays the villain in a season of 24.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's it.
So tempted to watch 24 again.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Particularly now you know Tobin Bell's in it.
No, I remember.
He's in like season 4 or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on there for a little while, but I think I just have a lot to say about the Saw
I think you have
franchise.
like an interesting affection for these films. But no, I think Saw... Yeah, I think after... I can't even really remember. I feel like it's after Saw 1, really, that it sort of loses itself and just gets more and more convoluted. And the key to all the films are the traps and the gore and the torture porn of it all.
Famously, that's also when Hostel kicked off. So they had to... That's where focus changed.
Yeah.
It went from being the focus around the serial killer and the scenario.
There was a good 5 or 6 years where torture porn had its place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I think it culminated with like the Human Centipede, where it's just like, this is the target audience of this is just basically like disgusting men.
Yeah.
So it very quickly like lost its place in popularity with the masses anyway. But I think the Saw franchise is very interesting. Its origins are fascinating. And Lee Whannell and James Wan are still very relevant in horror, because obviously James Wan did Insidious and Conjuring, and Lee Whannell has written and directed Invisible Man and The Wolfman, which didn't do very well.
Wolfman did do as well, but Invisible Man I thought was great. Really well put together.
I was mixed on that.
I liked it. I think I watched it outside of the cinema as well. I remember thinking, I think I watched it just as COVID was kicking off, and I was like, yeah, this is
kind of.
decent.
I felt like the Invisible Man it failed at like its like key aspects where I just hated the loud like sound effect it did when it was revealed where he was. I feel like that it should always be incredibly subtle. That's like literally the power of the film.
Yeah, true. But I mean, these guys like essentially invented jump scare cinema. So
that's a story for another day. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the list because you've got hard hitters and then you've got like quite a few films. Like it's very hard for me to feel. 47 Ronin is at the bottom of the barrel.
47 Ronin is the worst film.
It's the wooden spoon. I don't think there's been a better wooden spoon.
In fact, I would arguably say that 47 Ronin might actually be the worst film that we've had on any of our lists so far.
We'll Die Another Day.
Hey, look, I'm flying the flag for Die Another Day. Oddly, surprisingly mid in the films that I've seen this year so far.
Ironically, will not live another day.
Nice.
Yeah, it will forever be a laughing stock. Anyway.
Okay, right, let's get a countdown, guys. Right,
so we're going
if we've got 47 Ronin at the bottom, I would then probably say World War Z.
I agree.
Then
both 47 Ronin and World War Z have the unforgivable sin of being boring.
Yeah. Then I'm going to say Saw 3.
I agree.
Then I think...
Well, American Pie 2.
I think I'll go American Pie 2. Then I'll go The Sixth Sense.
Again, it falls down to if we're talking about like the first time viewing.
Nah, Kill Bill Volume 2 is still better than Sixth Sense.
I don't know. Like I feel like if you had both these films and you could only watch them once ever, I think Sixth Sense you would take a lot more from it. Like in terms of like, I don't know, like deep meaning. And that's the thing with Sixth Sense, because after like the fourth viewing, that deep meaning is eradicating at will.
And it also really depends on the amount of cinema that you've seen before you see Sixth Sense. So basically, Sixth Sense is a harder hitting film depending on your film literacy and whether you've seen it or not. But what I would say also about Kill Bill is it's massively dependent on you seeing Volume 1. So, like, if you're going by it...
I think I wouldn't necessarily agree the amount of cinema you watched. I think even if you're a big film goer, I think The Sixth Sense is it gives you a very unique feeling the first time you watch it because of its unique twist. There's been twists forever, but because it's so anchored on that twist, I think, I don't know, it has a very strange
But this is the thing. I would argue, yeah, you're right.
place
It
in this
is
list.
anchored on that twist. But what I would say is the Haley Joel Osment story of him coming to terms with his powers and what then he needs to do in order to not be scared anymore is a far more interesting story and far more central to the plot of The Sixth Sense than the arbitrary twist that is at the end of it. Kill Bill is so focused on what it wants to do. And then the flashback is very integral to this woman's skills, and then she kind of gets to Bill, and then she kind of does exactly what you kind of want her to do. That is a more interesting, fulfilling movie than, say, something like Sixth Sense. And so for me,
I'd probably agree, yeah.
I would probably say Sixth Sense, then Kill Bill Volume 2, and then Mystic River to top it off.
I think I would agree.
Have I actually managed to convince you? This is like 7
Yeah, I
episodes,
suppose.
and I think I've managed to create a succinct argument.
I can't really put Kill Bill as a film below Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
I'll probably agree with you.
cool. And then I think we both agree that Mystic River is obviously top.
Mystic River is the best film.
For obvious reasons. Everyone needs to go and see that, or they
Yeah.
need to see it.
It's a
Get a
great
copy of it. It's an insanely good
It's
movie.
yeah, it's a tragedy. It's a very interesting study on friendship. in many
Unlike Saw
ways.
3, it's a very interesting take on the human condition.
Anyway, no, I think that list is fair.
Okay, right. So, let's
please.
finish this off then, shall we? So, at number 7, we have 47 Ronin. At number 6, we have World War Z. At number 5, we have Saw 3. At number 4, we have American Pie 2. Number 3, Sixth Sense. At number 2, Kill Bill Volume 2. And number 1, Mystic River.
I like it.
That's not bad, is it? It's not bad. I reckon, though, we might see some hot takes on that. I think we would see some interesting things.
I think a lot of people would defend Sixth Sense more than we have.
Possibly, but this is the part of this. It's arbitrary. What we're doing here just doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, thank you for taking part in the latest episode of Such Ranker. How do you rate our list? Would you do anything differently? We would love to hear your opinions and what you think. But in the meantime, take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.